bring it on. The USA has Donald Trump, South Africa has Jacob Zuma. Here is the thing, across the threshold of fear about shedding life in my city. Here is the multimillionaire, billionaire class, ruthless ruler, epitomized again in poor people of the world, the trustees allowing themselves to be lethal object, caught up in a never-ending hurricane, a ticking time bomb. South Africa could plunge into a long-drawn seeing gods and retribution in gated lands of the banal, rich and famous. As if he were a primal technology, AI, human-robot prototype exhibiting immaturity. The essence of being human lies in the structure and functionalities of the human. Be relentlessly disruptive, cause havoc, be an extremes of eccentricities, idiocy and arrogance of power, rule. It's for me a profound sentimental stand rooted in the nature of the historical narrative of the liberation struggle of my motherland, show glaringly how charlatans can abuse their policy-making capacity that is embedded in the powers bestowed upon them. But that doesn't bother you at all. You are mampus. You are defiant to the extreme, as in say, you don't want peace. You live above the law. You own your followers through and through. Each one of them understands that you are their life savior, as in tells and lives a straight-faced pathological lies, projecting the most absurd of buffoonery, provides mental escapes, fantasy lands of Hollywood, Bollywood and Nollywood for you, baby. This last tolerable level of impunity, power abuse that has put the whole world on the edge is called Moleko. In the party policy is a living set of time and space-based guiding leadership and compliance rules in society. Trump's uninhibited, deep-seated lack of tact, including pure ignorance in international relations. Ignorance infuriates me. With doge Elon Musk's backside over his head, the Trump destruction machine is on steroids. Brawling is not the sole prerogative of sociopathic, fake alpha males and their bleach blonde, bad-built, butch body kind of. That's how I'm not, and I cannot be afraid of Donald Trump as a man. I know his kind so well. I close my eyes. Please like the video. Please subscribe. I have to make a few disclosures and clarifications. I started working with this presentations text in January 2025. It is developed around an extremely fast-moving subject with anything bad thinkable can happen anytime potential. The subject's predominant figure is like an already lethal object caught up in a never-ending hurricane, a ticking time bomb that is set to detonate whenever, wherever. Pray now, whilst you last. Caught up in major life-changing moments of my own during this time, it is possible that by the time this talk is published, some events might have changed, and I might not have had a chance to update certain relevant elements of my references and contentions, factual or subjective. In that case, I apologize in advance. I am South Africa's African National Congress ANC child to the core. Is for me a profound sentimental stand rooted in the nature of the historical narrative of the liberation struggle of my motherland, the land of my birth, my heritage jewel in Norway. I vote Labour Party, Arbeiderpartiet, outvote Labour in the UK as well, whereas in the USA the Democrats align with much of my fundamental socio-political values. In Zambia, my fatherland, my heritage crown, the then 1972 to 1991 party state ruling party, UNIP, was daily pounded down my throat for 13 years, 1975 to 1988, left a lasting anti-autocracy bile taste in my mouth. Gave me free education up to university level though. Refined my brains, sharpened my sense of personal integrity, prepared me for a life of honor as a grown-up, cultured man. I have an nonchalant indifference to Zambian politics. However, I would vote for Zambia as a champion of the peaceful nation anytime. It's no big deal for me to reveal my political orientation. It is what I am. Take me or leave me as you wish. It's your prerogative. In a free world, I'll reciprocally respect your political leanings as long as your choices and actions do not seek to cause objectifiable, inclusive, or indiscriminate social harm. You have every right to be as fascist as you wish to be, but never count on me for support. I'll do everything within my powers to incapacitate, isolate, and exclude you in my domains. I'll expose you and your ways through my writings. I'll talk about you. I'll highlight your fallacies, your inadequacies, your potential dangers to society. Those that are capable of doing worse things than I can shall read about you, know you better, and then devise strategies as to how to crush you effectively. Even so, my political stand is not about personalities. It is about policy and impact on society at home and abroad. Political leaders emerge, breathe, give temporary faces to their respective political values as promulgated and effected in and through their party policies, build or destroy, and then die. In progressive non-demagogic societies, policy is impersonal. Policy is a living set of time and space based guiding leadership and compliance rules in social or organizational life endeavors. It's intrinsically generational. It endures, keeping pace with and adapting to inevitable changing times all the time, ideally. Hopefully, policy is a declaration, a manifesto, an encapsulation of an organization's motivations, goals, and intentions. It explains and justifies the motivations, charting out the ways and means towards attainment of the goals, as well as the actualizations of the intentions. In the process, policy defines scales by way of spaces and magnitudes of resources at relevant manpower and material levels. The idea being, in a perfect world, to form a coherent, functionally flawless, effective system of work routines, bureaucracy, that is, all carried out by appropriately qualified and skilled personnel at all levels. In keeping with changing times or not, policy may or may not be dynamic and durable. In any organization or national state, policy may or may not be durable to the extent that it delivers or not according to the interest of the dominant ruling elite classes. For instance, every new presidential term in the United States of America, previously existing policies or elements thereof are often defiantly altered or erased altogether. That at a stroke of a pen within hours of the new president's assumption of power. Clearly, in the real world of insatiable political power grabs and economic greed spearheaded by tyrannical, psychopathic oligarchs the world over today, policy doesn't have to serve the common good. The ongoing power games in American nightmare Trumpland show glaringly how charlatans can abuse the policy-making capacity that is embedded in the powers bestowed upon them, either by appointment or electoral outcomes. The UK had the Tories Boris Johnson. He's chronically choking under Brexit, not of any significance in the context of this presentation. The man is politically dead. Brexit manifestos live on. Many a UK person is non-jubilant for resultant economic hardships owing to bad, counterproductive, isolationistic Brexit policies contra Europe. UK people have had better times before. The sun set on the British Empire a long time ago. Brits yet to recover from colonial might, glaucoma. I can read and write my name and more. I know crap when I see it, when I hear it. Ever stupendous is my world, that is planet Earth, and the broad aspect of universal nature is I have an informed scientific and philosophical understanding of how my world works. The fundamental science branches of biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics form the bedrock of my comprehension of the workings of my objective or world or nature. That both the animate and the inanimate, the immediate and distant, beyond the realms of normal human cognitive perception. Philosophy helps me to better fathom how humanity subjectively interacts with nature and itself in the execution of its existential imperatives. I'm ever alert in the broadest terms as to natural and human endeavor events in my world. It is my personal disposition to seek to find workable and universally applicable explanatory models relative to specific attention-inducing events in my world. Applying science and philosophy as outlined above, I think deeply about my life as an individual, as well as being a member of the wider global community. Overt, volatile militancy on the ground may not be my thing. That notwithstanding literary expression of my thoughts and feelings about the state of the world of which I am a part of course, is my forte. I shall write and cry about social injustice. My internal and external expressions of joys of life and love come out best when I write. When I read and sing my writings, the elation I feel inside, words cannot adequately describe. I take responsibility for my actions and behave accordingly, eliminating or avoiding undesirable traces, outcomes, if I can. And I take positive experiences to next levels to the extent that it is possible without causing harm or undue distress to others. Therefore, I am as woke as wakefulness can be. I am intellectually, that is, broken into the objective and subjective existential relationships of being human, conscious of the material and non-material workings of my world. Nobody, and I mean Nobody, nobody can mess with my brains. I don't care who or what they are, where they come from, or what they do. If they talk and do crap, that's what they do. DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, is my ethos by default. It comes with my territory, for I am a Machona son, begotten by a fine, humane Machona immigrant man in a cruel world. That said, this is my voice. I speak for myself without fear or favor in a free world. For all the good and unintended, no good I might say, I express my thoughts and feelings independent of any need to please, succumb, or conform to pressure from any special interest groups or individuals. Nonetheless, if anything, and because I can, I non-solicited speak for the voiceless as well, the weak, the afraid, the vulnerable, the underdogs suffering under all sorts of human injustices and life's misfortunes the world over. CRT, critical race theory, is an anti-racist expository analytical tool, speaks my language, having been born and raised in the then apartheid South Africa. I've experienced apartheid repercussions to the depth of my bones to this day. Even the slightest of apartheid tendencies rattles my skeleton. The pre-1994 South African apartheid policy was the world's first constitutionally grounded systemic racism. Apartheid was designed as a tool to apply and justify the oppression of South African black people by South African white supremacists, many of whom being descendants of the earliest European settlers since the 17th century. Critical race theory crushes systemic racism through research identifying and challenging anti-black racism legal instruments, some of which may be entrenched in the USA National Constitutional Amendments. Applied ignorance disappoints me, it hurts me. Ignorance infuriates me, it petrifies me. There aren't many things that appall me as much as applied ignorance. Stupidity is observable inherent behavioral patterns that reveal degrees and relative aspects of applied ignorance in given settings, temporary or long-term, variable or constant. Stupidity personifies applied ignorance, which is the antipathy of wisdom. This is of particular professional and personal interest to me in leadership as both a process and concept. I'm ever so fascinated by the rise into critical national socio-political power roles by the abundantly, incompetently stupid. The latter attribute with a reference to lack of possession of functional, progressive and durable problem-solving capabilities sensitive ever-changing times in society and nature. Not in the least, the abundantly, incompetently stupid power elites fascinate me with their degenerate social skills in their rise to power, their hold on to power once they get there. These kinds of people manifest the degenerative social skills even when they fall out of and have lost their reins of power. Service to society, their people, is but a low-level source of motivation for the pursuit of national leadership power acquisition for these incompetently stupid people. Power-hungry, centered individuals. They enter politics mainly to further private, economic, and other interests, such as avoiding consequences for crimes they may have committed. Look no further than the USA currently. Change at all levels may be planned and managed, or it may be spontaneous, occurring out of forces beyond any person's control. It is in real challenging times that ignorance, stupidity in applied leadership stands out. That is, irrational social engineering choices are made, resources mismanagement takes place, theft and corruption thrive, human rights abuses become the normal, social cohesion collapses, tyranny prevails, civil wars, which may or may not have serious international implications depending on the nations involved, are the worst case scenarios in the end. Abundantly, incompetently stupid leaders are ruthless, they are petulant, lacking empathy. They are buffoons to whom civility is a concept unknown. In geopolitics affairs, their international relations disasters, perpetual dumbheads with skewed views of the world. In their extreme madness stance, some of them could self-annihilatorily nuclear bomb the world, and they wouldn't care. Should it happen, they would probably say, oops, and die happily in their heads, satisfied with themselves, thinking that they have shown the world the power of alpha male masculinity. My foot. The USA has Donald Trump, South Africa has Jacob Zuma. In my mother tongue, Sesotho, would say about these two that they could have been birthed by the same woman. They could exchange countries and they would be just as equally dumbfounding as individuals and as two who share numerous common inherent personality traits. Different outside, but internally driven by significant identical idiosyncrasies in many respects. It is not as if Trump and Zuma are collectively especially unique in this regard. The world is full of numerous others of their particular behavioural. Any list of historical and contemporary tyrants you can conjure from any corner of the world to another will do. Without exception, these are ever destructive, regressive elements responsible for stations of, if not experiences, of some of the darkest moments of social leadership dysfunctionalities the world over, all through the epochs to the present. At the micro level, I already lived Trump Zuma like a tyranny through experiences and observations I derived whilst growing up in the hard gangster-infested township street life in the then Apartheid South Africa. I was born in the latter in 1960. In late 1965, I became perceptually conscious of and began to intentionally store memorable experiences of my life all the environments I would find myself to this day. Looking back, I effortlessly see Trump and Zuma on the faces of all the meanest gangsters, including all other grown-up men that were feared and despised for their ferocity as spouses, fathers, and fellow citizens in other aspects of life. These kinds of guys, I think, they are smart. However, if smartness is judged in terms of abilities to progressively solve the never-ending familial and or societal engineering challenges, they score terribly bad all the time. Blatant, dysfunctional, erratic, myopic, anarchical, and other regressive leadership qualities characterize their governance capabilities from the smallest organizational units to the largest at the national and international levels. Destruction of one's or potentially functional societal services and production institutions and processes is imminent, if not immediate, outcome of these kind of guys' rule. The longer they stay in power, the more destruction they cause, ultimately leading to civil unrest and possible social collapse, culminating in civil or international wars at worst. Given the unsurprisingly egregiously disruptive start of his second term locally, disdainful disregard for international, Trump could ignite a third world war. On the one hand, to this day still incessantly claiming false premise the 2020 USA presidential election fraud, which led to his loss to Joe Biden. Trump the infamous January 6th insurrection in 2021. The goal was to restart the customarily peaceful transfer of power from a democratically defeated incumbent president to the new winner president, Joe Biden in this case. On the other hand, for 9 days in 2021, July 19 to 18, Zuma riots ensued. Total mayhem of proportions never seen since the end of apartheid rule in South Africa reigned in Gauteng and KZN provinces. Zuma supporters had reason to demand his release from prison. The man had been imprisoned for contempt of court in a case involving to testify at the Zondo Commission. The latter inquiries into corruption against Zuma. These corruption charges arose from his South African presidency between 2009 and 2018. In response to my prompt recently, 𝗧𝗵𝗲, formerly treated as artificial intelligence grog function, gave an overview of recent developments regarding both Jacob in South Africa and Donald Trump in the USA as follows. Jacob Zuma, South Africa. Political expulsion. Zuma has been expelled from the ANC, his long-time political home, after he formed a new political party, 𝗵𝗲 which contested recent elections of June 14, 2024. This move has significantly impacted the ANC's performance in the elections, contributing to them losing their parliamentary majority for the first time in 3 decades. Legal challenges. Zuma is facing ongoing corruption charges linked to a multi-billion-dollar arms deal from the late 1990s. Despite numerous legal battles and delays, he is set to go to trial in April 2025. His legal wars have been a central part of his political narrative, with his supporters often rallying behind him against what they perceive as political persecution, public and political influence. Despite his legal and political troubles, Zuma continues to wield a significant influence, especially in his home province of KwaZulu-Natal, KZN. His new party managed to gain a considerable share of the vote in June 14, 2024 elections, indicating his enduring popularity among some segments of the population. Donald Trump, USA, legal issues. Trump has been indicted on multiple occasions, including cases related to his handling of classified documents, efforts to overrun the 2020 election, and financial dealings. These legal battles continue to be a focal point of his post-presidency life, with various trials scheduled or in progress. Other trials have been closed since his 2.0 ascendance to power. Political influence. Trump remains a dominant figure within the Republican Party, influencing its direction in his second presidential term. He continues to claim that the 2020 election was stolen, a narrative that resonates with a portion of the GOP voter base. Public opinion on Donald Trump remains deeply polarized. While he retains a dedicated base, there are also widespread criticisms concerning his actions, both during and after his presidency, especially regarding his legal accountability and his impact on American democracy. These developments reflected the complex political landscapes in both countries, where both Zuma and Trump continue to exert influence despite facing substantial legal and political challenges. Zuma compared to Trump. On comparing the two, Grog continues by saying that comparing Jacob Zuma of South Africa and Donald Trump of the United States involves looking at several dimensions, including their political careers, leadership styles, public perception, and the legal challenges they faced. Here's a breakdown. Political careers. Jacob Zuma. He served as the president of South Africa from 2009 to 2018. Before becoming president, he was a key figure in the anti-apartheid movement and held various positions within the South African, within the African National Congress, the ANC. His presidency was marred by numerous corruption allegations, leading to his eventual forced resignation in 2020 to pressure from within the party and widespread public protest. Donald Trump. He served as the president of the United States from 2017 to 2020. Before his presidency, he was known primarily as a real estate developer and reality TV star. His presidency was characterized by a divisive political style, significant policy changes like tax cuts and numerous controversies, including his handling of international relations, the response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and allegations of Russian interference in the 2016 elections. Trump is, of course, in his second term. His divisive political style and arbitrary irrational policy changes are as if on steroids, thanks to no less weird Elon Musk's US apparatus destruction doge horror machine. Trump's handling of the ongoing Russian war on Ukraine has degenerated to extremely worrisome levels, a potential large-scale war of catastrophic outcomes waiting to explode if world diplomatic efforts fail to rein in on Russia's Putin, Trump's hero and apparent puppet master. Leadership styles. Zuma, often seen as charismatic but controversial, using patronage and ethnic politics to maintain support, especially in his home province of KZN. Trump, known for his direct communication via social media, populist rhetoric, and an America First policy approach. His style was often described as authoritarian by critics due to his frequent attacks on media and institutions. Trump's attacks on media and institutions also on steroids in the second term. Public perception. Zuma. His public support was deeply divided. He had a strong base among certain demographics, but was also widely criticized for corruption, leading to significant public outcry and the formation of movements like Zuma must fall. Trump, similarly polarizing with a loyal base that appreciated his outsider status and policies, while others criticized him for undermining democratic norms, spreading misinformation, and instigating the January 6th Capitol riot. Legal challenges. Zuma. He faced numerous legal battles, including over 783 of corruption, fraud, and racketeering linked to an arms deal in the late 1990s. Although many charges were dropped or he was acquitted, he was eventually sentenced to 15 months in prison for contempt of court in 2021 for refusing to appear before a corruption inquiry. Trump has been involved in numerous legal cases, including impeachments, twice, investigations into business practices and post-presidency issues related to the mishandling of classified documents and attempts to overturn the 2020 election results. As of Grok's last update on the 14th January 2025, Trump faced several civil and potential criminal cases. I've already stated above that some of Trump's trials have been closed since his 2.0 ascendance to power. Comparison, corruption versus legalism. Zuma's challenges have largely centered around corruption in government dealings, whereas Trump's legal issues span business practices, election integrity, and misuse of office powers' impact on democracy. Both leaders have been accused of undermining democratic institutions in their respective countries, though in different ways. Zuma's actions were more about the personal enrichment and weakening of state institutions, while Trump's were often about challenging electoral integrity and media credibility. In the Trump 2.0 presidency, we are seeing the undermining and wreckage of democratic institutions to a whole new level. Trump is actively seeking to concentrate state power in his hands in the White House. The man has already declared himself a king. Will never be in reality, short of their breaking out USA's second civil war, which Trump's maga wins cannot happen. Just as much as Zuma could never be South African president again. The South African political landscape has become much too complex. A forceful power takeover in South Africa is untenable. That not overrule the possibility of some lunatic taking a chance sometime. In that case, South Africa could plunge into a long-drawn civil war that no one can win. Then fools might finally see why Mandela purportedly betrayed the revolution and sold South Africa to the whites. Bloody hell. Grog ends by saying, and I quote, "The Zuma-Trump comparison shows two leaders with significant influence in their countries, both of whom have left legacies marked by controversy, legal battles, and polarized public. Their approaches to government, while different in many respects, share themes of challenging the status quo and facing significant backlash," end of quote. I must say that AI Grok's analysis has impressed me thoroughly with its precision and its blink of an eye speed ability to capture and compress the essence of complex questions on, in our case here, two complex men in two complex societies in a world changing exponentially complex each new day. With Zuma and Trump in mind, I couldn't help but ask ChatGPT to explain the statement, and I quote, "The world is getting exponentially complex each new day." response in flawless format and language done in less than 5 seconds. It's as follows, and I quote, "The world is getting exponentially complex each new day." The statement, "the world is getting exponentially complex each new day," reflects the idea that the intricacies of global systems, social, technological, economic, and environmental, are increasing at an accelerating pace. Here are some key aspects to consider. 1. Technological growth. Rapid advancements in technology such as artificial intelligence, big data, and Internet of Things are creating new tools and systems that interact in complex ways. Each new technology can lead to unforeseen consequences and additional layers of complexity. 2. Global interconnectedness. The world is more interconnected than ever due to globalization. Events in one region can have immediate and widespread effects elsewhere, leading to complex interactions between economies, cultures, and political systems. 3. Information overload. The sheer volume of information available today can be overwhelming. The internet and social media have made it easier to access and share information. But this also means that individuals and organizations must navigate a vast and often contradictory landscape of data. Social dynamics, that's 4. Social structures and relationships are becoming more intricate as diverse cultures and communities interact. Issues such as migration, urbanization, and demographic shifts contributed to the complexity of social dynamics. 5. Environmental challenges. Global issues like climate change, biodiversity loss, and resource depletion are interconnected and require multifaceted solutions. The complexity of these challenges increases as they involve various stakeholders, scientific disciplines, and policy considerations. 6. Rapid change. The pace of change in various domains, that is technology, politics, and culture, can create a sense of instability and unpredictability, making it harder to understand and manage complex systems. In summary, the statement emphasizes that as we progress, the interactions and dependencies within our world are becoming more intricate, requiring new ways of thinking and problem solving to navigate the challenges that arise. I put it forth that Zuma and Trump are not cut out for national leadership roles at the highest levels in their respective countries. That in view of their blatantly demonstrable top leadership dysfunctionalities and social or professional skills inadequacies that have led them into numerous legal quandaries contra certain individuals, organizations, as well as their respective states. Especially with the mightier by far USA, given the relative and global economic and political power South Africa and the former willed, Trump and Zuma are individually geopolitics disasters in motion. While Zuma may be significantly constrained by the complexities of the South African political scene, Trump has the world in panic mode. The world fears, for heaven forbid, his radical reflexive actions provoking a potentially annihilatory global military conflict involving nuclear capability superpower nations of the world. That Zuma and Trump have defied the odds to the levels of becoming presidents in their respective countries intrigues me profoundly. It does not surprise me, though. What surprises me to a point of dismay is how social or political organizational systems around them have facilitated and continue to sustain these men's rise to power. This doesn't give me sleepless nights, though. That's because I have what to me is a real-time, testable, observational, exploratory model. It's about how the individual's personality traits shape the individual's capacity or lack thereof to and or relate to the various aspects of human relations, the individual can consciously or unconsciously then devise relevant ways to use exploitatively or mutually beneficially the nature and extent of the human relations and networks. There are, of course, people with bland personalities. They are born and breathe through life, giving no damn about personality traits, social relations, and all that, and then die happily with no worries in the world. These kinds of people are of little interest in this talk. As regards to Jacob Zuma and Donald Trump, well, I've already postulated earlier on in this presentation that in my mother tongue, Sesotho, we would say about these two that they could have been birthed by the same woman. They could exchange countries and they would be just as equally dumbfounding as individuals, as two who share numerous common inherent personality traits. Different outside, but internally driven by significant identical idiosyncrasies in many respects. Thank you for having gotten this far with this talk. If you find it enjoyable, informative, and thought-provoking, please like the video. I hope that you find the channel content of value to you. In that case, please subscribe. That way you'll be inspiring me to do more work and grow the channel for you. Thank you again. In the video, white America is equal to black Africa, maga America same as dark Africa. The Black South Africa case published on February the 2nd, 2024. I crush the racist myth that white people are racially superior to and therefore more intelligent than black people. In the broadest, most elemental terms of being human, the worth of humanity is not isolatable to physical attributes. The essence of humanity, the essence of being human lies in the structure and functionalities of the human physiology. The structure and functionalities of human physiology are encoded in the human genome. The human genome is the constant, universally applicable core of our genetic makeup. Our genetic makeup is the ultra complex storage, processing, regulation, and distribution of energy and instructions as to the functionalities of our body's physiological processes essential for existence. The abnormal and nervous systems work in concert to enable physiological processes, functionalities of the various relevant internal organs of the body. It is at the physical level that the various needs and outcomes of the functioning of the various aspects of the physiology are manifest. For example, the adrenaline, fear, flight or fight hormonal response in humans is a constant irrespective of race, creed, faith or origin. How far to run or fight will be a function of physical and other factors relating to the individual's ability to assess the real dangerous, threatening and other possible life-death circumstances prevailing. From the outset, the elemental human sexual reproductive urge is ignited, consummated in a constant fashion across all humanity. Over time and conditioned by a myriad of variable environmental factors across the globe, human physical expression diversity is a given, but the essence of being human is a constant. Therefore, as human beings, we crave for the same things for survival. No one is better than others, is more entitled to life than others by virtue of skin color. Love is love regardless of race, as is stupidity. If you're a sexually fertile human wishing to produce another human, you, in any way practical, according to capabilities and or limitations, merge your reproductive material with that of the opposite sex. assuming successful fertilization leading to the formation of a zygote, and that systematically developing into a fetus, all the way to a fully fledged human baby, a child shall be born. The child shall emerge with their own unique physiological and physical attributes manifesting themselves in different ways all lifelong. But as is the fundamental human existential rule, the child's human genome remains a constant, thereby ensuring continued potential for propagation of the human species in all its infinite qualitative, objective, and subjective expressions. The video I just mentioned was posted on my channel on February the 2nd, 2024. At the time, I had thought that my highlighting in my Black South African township context, my observed nature of human relations, power dynamics in the making of despots would portray Zuma and Trump examples for where they were then. They couldn't get worse, I believed. It is now clear that I had downplayed the extent of the intensity of the power Zuma and Trump have over their supporters. I am immensely fascinated by how extremely raw Donald Trump currently plays out the vices that are characteristic of bad gangster bullies, as I recall them in my growing up years in South Africa until the mid-1970s. Described in my mother tongue, Sesotho, that we behaviorally are all one human animal makes perfect sense to me. With some modifications, I repeat the vices as follows. Bodomo in sweet parlance, 𝗧𝗵𝗲 is derived from the Afrikaans word dom, alternatively bokwala in Sesotho. It means stupidity, downright idiocy. Here, amidst the events, a person acts like they don't know what's going on. They go about their daily business indifferent as to whether or not they cause others harm in their endeavors. They lack empathy. They are not interested in reason. They are denialists. They are revisionists. Bohopo in Sesotho is cruelty. When it is deep-seated, merciless, non-benevolent, and non-repentant, it is called 𝗨𝗪𝗪 in the same language. The deal is to rule by absolute iron-fisted fearsomeness without exception. Anybody transgressing you in any way shall suffer the full ruthlessness of your wrath in line with the nature of the offense and the choice of punishment you deem fit. The line between life and death is often very thin here. This tends to elicit a baffling loyalty from your cohorts, much to the bewilderment of your detractors. Hotela Sesotho, ukudelela isiZulu, is an uninhibited show of lack of respect, total disdain. You're brazen, you bulldoze your way through towards the attainment of your power or material acquisitions and other egocentric ambitions. You know no boundaries in your interpersonal and other relations in the community. It's your rules or no rules at all. Trump plays out 𝗨𝗪𝗪 Sesotho as if he were primal technology, AI human robot prototype exhibiting immature social skills of a spoiled brat suffering irreparable brain damage with pus streaming down his ears. A lost cause. 𝗨𝗪𝗪 in Sesotho is the root of hotel above and 𝗨𝗪𝗪 below. 𝗨𝗪𝗪 means to undermine, to belittle other people. Tools applied include ceaseless patronization, ridicule, insults, unjust criticism, passive aggression, isolation or exclusion, subjugation, all propelled by jealousy and or feelings of threat, irrationally perceived or real, because the victim may indeed be the better person in many respects. And the idea is to crush the victim, cut them down to size and put them in their place of perpetuating significance. This is pure mental and emotional abuse that often easily degenerates to physical abuse. 𝗨𝗪𝗪 in Sesotho is a provocativeness. Be agitative even out of nothingness, just so your presence is noticed, is not forgotten. Be relentlessly disruptive, cause havoc, be an ass, instigate and sustain fear, use all means at your disposal, bully, defame, riot, vandalize, pillage, dispose, fight, maim, kill. ultimately emerge as the leader of the pack, level-headed, solution-oriented, if only to cow and manipulate the terrorized towards aiding to secure attained dominant safe position. Mamello in Sesotho, 𝗍𝗵𝗃 isiXhosa or isiZulu refers to tolerance, capacity, endurance, perseverance, stay the course, no matter what. Maga in Sesotho, 𝗗𝗃 isiZulu is absolute stubbornness. This is as Trumpish a trait as can be. Take a stand, be resolute to the very end, whatever the cost, whether or not originally intended goals are attained is not the essence. You are defiant to the extreme, as in say the Trump tariffs murder or Trump's assertion that Ukraine started the Russian war in Ukraine. Stay rock steady as a matter of principle, because you cannot be wrong or you cannot be denied your demands. You are the truth, you are the light. If you are not the son of God, then you are God. When fact-checked, double down, triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down, sextuple down, just X squared tuple down until they can't breathe no more. Your opponent shall declare you as deranged, delusional, but that doesn't bother you at all. You are Mampudi in Sesotho, champion, you rule. You own your followers through and through. Each one of them understands that you are their savior. As in the maga base, a street balance, Sesotho adage goes like this: Maziwa ziwe masbilikas bilig. You are vindictive. 𝗍𝗵𝗃 in Sesotho lumps together the attributes above into one virulent trait. Petulance, as gross as it can get. The descriptive form of 𝗍𝗃 is 𝗍𝗃, meaning he or she is petulant. People of all ages manifesting 𝗍𝗃 as a characteristic social interaction trait are some of the most dangerous a community can have. Makings of despots emerge here. Donald Trump, 𝗍𝗃, underpinning bodomo, bohopo, hotela, linyatso, liqhuku, mamello, manganga. And 𝗍𝗃 is the question, 𝗧𝗵𝗃 𝗪𝗃 in Sesotho, which directly translates as who is it you trust? Who's covering your back? The question is profound to the extent that it is asked the person directly, or others are asked about a particular individual when the latter's negative behavior defies not only mainstream social protocols across the board, but sheer common sense as well. It is believed that there must be some extraordinary qualities, some mystique about these kinds of people. For example, what gives them the guts? What makes them tick? Whose progeny are they? What are their lineages? Do they have some guardian angels, perhaps? In that case, who are the latter? Where are they? Are they working for somebody even more powerful than themselves? Who are these people? Are they protected by God, ancestral spirits, wizards and witches? Or are they just raving mad, sick in their heads? Are they bewitched? Are they members of some organized crime gangs or some secret societies, the Illuminati? Or is it just because they are too rich? But where does their wealth come from? It's only if and when sufficient knowledge about these treacherous people is gathered that concerned individuals or the community can effectively react to get rid of them in one way or another. It's not unusual that the former fall from glory in the most dramatic and humiliating fashions. Those who lived by the sword, dying exactly as they lived. Such is tyrant's life, the ruthless ruler, but momentarily. Beyond racist white skin color people superiority complex issues, Trump is just as abhorrent as any unpolished gangster marauding the streets of my former township, Tabong, South Africa. No better than Zuma. Barack Obama brought class to the American presidency. He crushed the myths of inferior black brains implanted in die-hard, dumb, fake white supremacy American brains. Black excellence has left the fake supremacy white American brains reverberating with exasperation-induced chronic migraine. They talk crap every day, do crap every day, step deeper and deeper into the mud every day. I hope the mud overpowers them before they get to burn planet Earth soon. At this point, I'd like to thank you once again for tagging along on this chart. If you find it enjoyable, informative, and thought-provoking, please like the video. I hope that you find the channel content of value to you. In that case, please subscribe. That way you'll be inspiring me to do more work and grow the channel for you. Thank you again. I appreciate your endurance. Reacting to the video I've just spoken about, white America is equal to black Africa, maga America same as dark Africa, the black South Africa case, a dear friend from my growing up days in Zambia in the mid-1970s to the late 1980s, Longa Sokoni expressed concern by warning me this way, and I quote, "Trump is coming for you," end of quote. My response remains as, bring it on. As a free spirit in a free world, I am not in any way afraid of Donald Trump, whereas from the outset I globally revere presidencies as institutions as given in national leadership stations. That's as far as it goes. I separate incumbent presidents or any other head of state title from their seats of power or thrones relative to how they apply the powers, the incumbencies bestow upon them in their work towards all-round societal development, adherence to constitutionality standards and acting within the confines of the law, local and international, is a critical factor. Subjective considerations of ethics and morality also come into play. Donald Trump and Jacob Zuma having their separate ways not fared well in the application of presidential powers in the execution of their official national leadership duties. We have already referenced to the array of their respective but appreciably identical in more ways than one brushes with the law on direct state and personal crimes in the United States and South Africa, respectively. I am not so naive as to want to pretend that I'm not aware of the theoretical possibility of Trump or Zuma or any other tyrants of the world, say Putin, ordering at the snap of a finger my assassination for the not favorable stuff I write or speak about them. However, here is the thing. I speak for myself, although I have reason to believe that many a social commentaries author or indeed any other creative whose work addresses social justice issues or imperatives will agree with me. Once we've decided to release our works to the wide world, irrespective of transmission media or format, we've consciously or unconsciously crossed the threshold of fear. Self-annihilism is not my thing. I love my life, and neither am I into martyrdom, status-seeking illusions. Otherwise, I would have, in the name of God, long blown myself up for the reported lusty virgins waiting to serve fanatics in heaven. I want to live long. I want to live forever. If any man wants to kill me for my human values, truth to power-based literary and other creative means expositions, it'd be cool if they took me on man-to-man, face-to-face. I would give them a good fight. If I die, I die. If I don't rise from the dead, I will from my grave haunt them for life. Promise. I don't die for nothing. From time to time, 𝗬𝗕 for the good does arise. I may be one already for all I care. Dead man walking. That's how I'm not, and I cannot be afraid of Donald Trump as a man. I know his kind so well. I close my eyes, I breathe deep, count to 10 and find myself in the midst of intoxicated, in reality weak younger men causing havoc in the streets from violent petty crimes, rape to murder. Without exception, their leaders were even weaker. Black Trump lookalikes, spoiled brats, rotten to the core, protected and enabled by their older, more influential relatives. In terms of street hustling, at the forefront would be younger boys already acutely broken through extremes of all sorts of crimes and abuses on the streets. These boys would be hingeless, often homeless, without parental control, much like child soldiers in unconventional warfare in some war-torn parts of Africa and elsewhere. The boys would be loyal to the gangster bosses, playing not only the first line of defense roles, but also active territorial surveillance. That included not only identifying and eliminating actual or potential enemies, but also identifying vulnerable people to victimize. They were the trouble-seeking and trouble-making hounds in much the same way that doge Elon Musk is for Donald Trump right now, firing thousands of American state employees without any proven justifiable cause. The prevailing survival ethos was ruled by as extreme fear as possible, driven by unrestrained instant brutality against the targeted victims or disloyalty in the gangs. The police fed from the hands of these criminals. Therefore, it wasn't unusual that the people would from time to time acting privately or militia style take as brutal vindictive actions against the gangsters. Donald Trump's modus operandi cannot be countered with silk-gloved hands. Behind the facade of machismo and cheap buffoonery, the man is but a thing. In my mother tongue, Sesotho, there is a word for it, 𝗵𝗵𝗂. I talk about 𝗵𝗵𝗂 in the video, The Thing, the end, confronting 𝗵𝗵𝗂, the ultimate threat, published on May 27, 2024. I expand the video title as 𝗵𝗵𝗂, the thing, the force of destruction unleashed. People beware. Although some of us never could predict the rate at and the extent to which the Trump 2.0 presidency would revolt the USA and international progressive norms, we did see the economic political carnage the petulant man-child Trump was pushing. As for me, his erratic handling of the 2020 pandemic, plus the orchestration and subsequent constant stubborn trivialization of the close call January 6th insurrection 2021 were jointly the deal breaker. The man is a historical disaster for the United States of America, period. No need to prove me wrong here. You just can't. Loud, pseudo-strongman, infantile, revisionist rhetoric does not change reality for its truths. And so we are clear, domineering, condescending, derogatory brawling is not the sole prerogative of sociopathic, fake alpha males and their bleach blonde, bird-built, butch-body kind of female minions. With doge Elon Musk's backside over his head, the Trump destruction machine is on steroids. Trump's uninhibited, deep-seated lack of tact, including pure ignorance in international relations protocols, contra-example questions surrounding the Russian invasion of Ukraine, make him the most dangerous politician in the world today. Here is one new illustration. The man's screw-ups are so many and close to each other on a daily basis. At a press conference in the Oval Office on Friday, February 28, 2025, prodded by his lapdog J.D. Vance's attack on ZelesnskY for Zelensky's perpetuating gratitude for the wannabe godfather, Trump puked some obnoxious verbal diarrhea at the Ukrainian president, projecting what we critical thinking woke political commentators already have long understood to be his probable end game. Deranged, raging pitbull Trump attacked Zelensky with a preposterous suggestion, and I quote, "You are gambling with World War III." Unsurprisingly, the president of the mighty United States of America managed to reduce the press conference into a unilateral, bullying, characteristically incessant, lies-packed, squabbling session. I recall witnessing similar such encounters in my formative years in my former black township Tabon location, Welkom, South Africa. Not only out on the streets, but also in my mother's Shebeen, then a thriving family business. As a rule, it never ended well for bullies. Ultimately, they dominated only for so long before the township jungle lost tolerance of crap tipped over, and then really bad things would happen to someone. A bad chapter deleted from the living story of the community. Read about Shebeen life in my 6th book, Machona Mother, Shebeen Queen. It's available on Amazon as well as numerous other online book sales enterprises. Your favorite bookstore can also order it for you anywhere you are in the world. Citing from the 𝗬𝗵𝗲 video text above, 𝗬𝗵𝗲 people break all the rules either purposely or because it is what it is. They don't know anything else but their unique ways of looking at the world. They cannot understand that others can think or act differently from them in given situations. They simply don't know how to empathize. Is there a way or no way at all? Civility is a concept unknown here. People that live the kind of raw incivility that Trump does are said to be bafiteletse in Sesotho, meaning that they have crossed the boundaries of decency. Their ethical, moral lost the causes beyond redemption. For their gross levels of incivility, Trump types are in Sesotho described as 𝗵𝗲 𝗨𝗦𝗔 𝗵𝗰. It means that they are so contemptuous, it's as if they wipe their bottoms with thorns. It's a daily observable phenomena with Trump that, and I quoted, the thing about 𝗬𝗵𝗲 is that they are just a thing. They are devoid of coherent feelings and thoughts expressions. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 tend to be one-way traffic communication machines. Their language skills can often leave much to be desired. Talking to one could as well be as good as talking to a clay-molded human figure. 𝗬𝗵𝗲 brutality can be horrendous. Woe to the spineless that fall for 𝗬𝗵𝗲's deceptive charisma. Woe to non-stayer enemies of 𝗬𝗵𝗲. An eccentric 𝗬𝗵𝗲 is a 𝗬𝗵𝗲. The condition knows no color, it knows no race. The only difference is the relative extent of power exercised and access to weapons of destruction according to their location on planet Earth. This year debunks racism as an ideology that claims and pushes ideas that some races are inferior to others. In a perfect world of the free, people group in cliques and not always out of racial identities, solidarity, both for the good and the bad. People are drawn to and bond with one another out of shared mental constructs, shared worldviews, end of quote. That's how there are Muslims for Trump, Jews for Trump, Nigerians for Trump, and such other numerous on the surface unlikely supporters in both the USA and across the world. It's not about race, not about faith. It's about congruent personality traits as they're behaviorally played out by individuals and collectives in the carrying out of their various human endeavor functions. The various human endeavor functions threaded together by mutually beneficial shared values. Even if end game power relations may not be equal or inclusive as to the diversity of individual or subgroup ultimate interests. It's hardly surprising, therefore, that Trump's inner power circle is exclusive of significant, if any at all, representations from the various non-white and non-Judeo-Christian pro-MAGA individuals. Neither is there any viciously pro-MAGA, pure white representation noticeable in Trump 2.0 inner power circle. Here, it's the multi-millionaire, billionaire class, ruthless ruler epitomized by Doge, or is it the dog, Elon Musk, the world's richest man. The last passage on 𝗵𝗵𝗃 reads as follows, and I quote, "In the old days, 𝗵𝗵𝗃 plural form used to be hidden away, or worse. Democracy is a wonderful thing in our times. Everyone has the right to live, whatever the cost. However, there's a tipping point to everything in life. May the fair and just prevail in all holes and surfaces of the planet. May light reign supreme, ultimately." The eternal optimist in me is skeptical, though I feel that we live in times in which extremes of eccentricities, idiocy, and arrogance of power rule. These personal attributes are aggressively applied by the high and mighty in Donald Trump's camps to overpower and capture the attention and blind loyalty of the afraid, bigoted, and downtrodden of the earth. Sadly, the latter are often the bland, ruthless majority who, out of various life circumstances and factors, are bereft of hope and will, if not courage, to fight for better living for themselves, seeing gods and retribution in gated lands of the banal, rich, and famous. Condescendence not intended. These people are not given to thinking about big sociological issues. Their main focus is on how to survive from day to day with limited food and other life essentials. Even the most absurd of buffoonery provides mental escapes from misery for these people. Donald Trump has mastered the art of fooling the poor. He tells and lives straight-faced pathological lies, projecting a fake model of American success that the poor aspire to live up to, but will never realize in reality. Fantasy lands of Hollywood, Bollywood, and Nollywood for you, baby. Trump has amassed far too much power. He has displayed all the negative attributes of gangsterism, as I recall it from my former black township in South Africa. All the diabolic stunts and embarrassing moves he has pulled so far in his second term are a reflection of his having reached the pinnacle of all the undesirable, the most dangerous power abuse antics any gangster, any bad person can perform. This last tolerable level of impunity, power abuse that has put the whole world on the edge, is called 𝗵𝗃 in Sesotho. The man has to be stopped before really bad things start to happen in his country and the world, sparking perhaps the end of life as we've known it in the universe so far. The Third World War is coming. He has already taunted the tragedy occurring. Donald Trump is 𝗵𝗃. 𝗵𝗃 is an intense, persistent subjection to infuriating trial, a test, a temptation to commit a transgression. At this level, somebody, the persecutor or the persecuted, has to go as in to die. It's no longer a game, a chess checkmate situation. The aggressor, as we currently bear witness to Trump's merciless wreckage of the USA state apparatus, has reached a point of no return. He won't stop insulting Canada and Mexico. He won't stop bullying Ukraine and Europe. He just will never stop. It's just a matter of time before the aggrieved tip over. Heaven forbid, because the world can suddenly become a truly horrible place for all. If we survive the Trump evil 𝗵𝗃, I once again implore people of the world to cease allowing themselves to be won over by people with obvious destructive personality and leadership traits like the concept of 𝗵𝗃 shows us. These kinds of people have no sense of the future. They strive to achieve their goals only here and now, no matter the cost, as long as they don't get hurt. We hit them where it has the most in our societal interest protection strategies. Simply make it difficult for them to access the reins of social power by adhering to set up regulatory mechanisms in social engineering institutions if the USA were to allow pro-Trump forces to amend the USA Constitution, or even outright override it to enable the Muleko men to have a go at the third-term presidency, then we're fucked. Assuming that he will last the current 4-year term in South Africa, short of a successful hypothetical military coup execution, Zuma will never become president again. In that regard, the future is bleak for the man. But he shall keep applying his Muleko disposition to fight for his political survival, and not in the least, he shall fight his standing legal cases to the last breath. In that case, Muleko is powered by Zuma's isiZulu language, inkani, simanganga, Sesotho, stubbornness attitude. Psychosocial predispositionally speaking, Zuma is Trump in black skin, Trump is Zuma in white skin. Now, prove me wrong if you can. Thank you for having gotten so far with this talk. If you find it enjoyable, informative, and thought-provoking, please like the video. I hope that you find the channel content of value to you. In that case, please subscribe.